Was there another person that you consulted with more than the others?
No.
I believe Mr. Wade said under testimony that he was a part of over 90% of these meetings or decisions. Do you recall that being an approximate accurate statement as to his involvement?
I can't speak to any other person's testimony, so I'm not going to ever comment on someone's testimony. If he testified to such, you're going to need to show it to me. You'll have to forgive me. I don't really trust you. So I'll have to see that particular testimony.
Do you recall Mr.
but
Wade
I
being...
do.
Wait just a minute. She's got a right to finish her answer. You don't have a right to cut her off.
That's incorrect, Governor. Thank
No,
you.
sir. It is
I'll
not.
be completing answers, though, sir. So
Sure.
we should get that straight from the...
Was Mr. Wade part of, would you say, more than half of the interviews that you conducted?
Yes.
Would you say it was more than 75% of the
I'm
interviews
not
you
going to guess
conducted?
at numbers. He was definitely more than half.
And what percentage of decisions, was the same percentage of decisions that he was a part of?
I ultimately made every decision. I take wise counsel from a group of people. So I took wise counsel from him. I took wise counsel from Deputy Bond. Ultimately, I made the decision on who stayed and who went.
When did you begin to consider whether to bring charges in response to the 2020 presidential election in Georgia?
Don't answer that. That's a deliberative privilege. Don't answer that. I instruct you not to answer.
Is it true that part of your transition team was involved in the process of interviewing people before you entered office to lead the investigation into the 2020 presidential election?
I'd like to answer that.
Go right ahead. You only take my advice sometimes. Anyway, go ahead.
That's really an ignorant question. And if you understand what the word ignorant means, it means the lack of knowledge. If you recall the facts, I was already district attorney when this all came to light. So it's factually impossible.
You were district attorney when what came to light?
When Raffensperger went on Good Morning America or whatever show he went on. I was already district attorney, so what you ask is a factual impossibility. Now, I know they've gotten black folks confused and said I was running for office, saying I was going to prosecute the President of the United States, but that's what we call a lie.
Okay. I would like
Take
to
your advice from here on out, okay?
Yeah.
I'd like you to take a look at the screen for me, if you will. This is from Mr. Wade's deposition to members of Jim Jordan's committee. And it was asked of the search committee, you said that began when D.A. Willis took office on January 1, 2021. Is that correct? Yes. And there was outreach to you to be part of the search committee prior to January 2021, January 1, 2021. Absolutely. When did that start? Sometime after the election, but prior to her taking office. Okay, so between the election, you're referring to November 2020 election. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. And so when you had conversations with individuals, you said on multiple occasions you said no, and you turned down the position. Who were those conversations with? They were with the district attorney.
So I think you're confusing facts. We've already had a long conversation about I interviewed everybody at the DA's office, and I interviewed other people to come and work at the district attorney's office. And as I told you, I did that on my free time before I became DA. But I had no way of knowing that these criminals were going to commit a crime. And that did not come to light until January of 2021 when I'm actually the DA. So it is a factual impossibility, like I already told you. I think that that is misinterpreted. He's absolutely correct. We looked for talent for the district attorney's office before I became the DA. I didn't wait till the day I took office to look for talent that would represent my office. But I was unable to look for talent for a case that didn't exist before I took office. It's factually impossible. It's common sense. You don't need to be a lawyer.
I'm going to read you some additional testimony. I'll try to put it on the screen.
You can read me as much as you want, but
I
that's
will.
the truth.
Thank you, Madam DA. And I apologize. I did not intend to have to get into this here. What was when Mr. Wade says that there was an interview on line 13, as you'll see here, this is prior to you entering office. What were you interviewing him for?
I didn't interview him prior to him entering office. He had a thriving law practice. Even when he ends up being offered the position, he doesn't want it.
Okay, now So it's your testimony today that you and Mr. Wade did not have any conversations prior to you taking office relative to an investigation into the 2020 election?
Don't answer that. That is a deliberative privilege of what goes on in a district attorney's mind and the process that goes.
She wasn't district attorney.
She was.
Prior to being sworn in, she was district attorney?
No, she was not, but you asked.
So I'll return to my question. Prior to you being sworn in as district attorney, is it your testimony today that you did not have any conversation with Mr. Wade about investigating the 2020 election?
Do you want to answer?
It's a dumbass question.
I know it is, but go ahead and tell him because it occurred after she took office, but go
I
right
didn't know that he was going to commit a crime prior to me taking office. Like, factually, it's impossible.
Okay, thank you. What happened between January 2021, I believe that's when the phone call was that you referenced, in November 2021, which was the time that Mr. Wade signed his first contract? What type of work happened within any area of your office in terms of gathering evidence or considering whether or not to bring these charges?
You want me to answer? Not particularly. I don't think it's any of their business.
You're getting into why a grand jury returns a bill of indictment. That is a deliberative process wrapped in the discretion of the district attorney. We're not going to get, I'm going to instruct her not to answer. Wait just a minute, let me finish. You can, if you see fit, you can seek to enforce that question, at which time she would be entitled to a jury trial in Fulton County, and I would be able to cross-examine you with each one of you with a real judge ruling on real law. But until that happens, I'm going to instruct her not to answer.
So on your advice of counsel, you're asserting privilege?
I'm telling her not to answer.
I'm clarifying with the
She
witness.
doesn't have to answer that. I'm not a potted plant. I can answer.
You can advise. You can absolutely advise your client, Governor Barnes. I'm asking your
I
client.
suggest you move on.
I'm asking your client if you are asserting privilege on the answer to the question.
I've made the objection on the record and told you even what you can do to enforce it.
What was the total cost of the election interference case?
I don't recall, but if we want to talk about cost, I'd love to talk about how last year alone the AG paid one lawyer $8 million.
You don't know what the cost of you don't know the cost of the election interference case? You
I
give a
don't know
range?
the exact cost.
What's a range?
As I don't want to speculate to numbers. Whatever it cost, they tried to steal the rights of thousands of Georgians. It couldn't have been enough.
What was the rough total operating budget of your office last year?
I don't know that. It's probably around $40 million. That's a speculation and a guess. That includes state money, grant money, and that's not an exact number. I don't do the budget. I have very high-level conversations about that.
Okay. Can you give us a rough breakdown of that, the county budget and the state budget?
I cannot, and I'm not going to guess for you.
Does the federal government give you any money?
I do have some grants, yes.
The only source of federal money you get is from grants?
To my knowledge, I don't. There may be something else. We may have some federal seizure money. If we do, it's not much. So I don't know. I don't want to speculate. If I say, oh, they gave me grant money and this federal seizure money, and you find some line item someplace that I don't know, you'll swear I was trying to lie to you when the truth is I don't know the correct answer. I'm
just trying to get to, I know you run a tight ship over there, you're proud of your work. I would assume that you would have
I'm the
some
best
sort of-
DA in the Southeast. Why wouldn't I be proud of my work?
What's your annual budget?
I told you it's around $40 million, but I do not know an exact number.
And what's the approximate source of funds that you receive from the state versus the county?
Me, like every other district attorney in this state, do not receive enough funds. I told you that you all pay 20 to 25 ADAs. I don't know the exact number. I don't have it in front of me. You pay two legal assistants and one investigator. Now, Fulton County is 1,000,002 people. It's the place that when people come to Georgia, they're coming is to Atlanta. On a daily basis, we have 5 million people, and we are very improperly funded. If this committee wants to do some real work, it'll get serious about crime fighting among this state. From every rural community to
Madam DA,
I'm answering my question.
I'm good. That's not an answer to the question.
Okay, well,
You got the right to finish your answer.
if this committee wants to get serious about legislation to make the communities in the state of Georgia safer, they will invest more money in every district attorney's office across this state. That's the rural DAs need more, the middle size, the residentials, and the big cities like Atlanta. All of us need more resources to be able to do our job appropriately, and it is a joke the way that these people are funded that are dedicating their lives to public service. Also, I want to go back to, because this is extremely important and you have the power to do it, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations
Madam DA,
cannot
I
taste
did
rape
not ask you
kids.
for advice
What-
on what the legislature
You
can
asked
do.
That's
We-
exactly what the resolution said, to take advice on legislation.
And we will get to that time.
Well, you answer the question, she has a right to fully answer.
And if she would answer the question, Governor, I would not be saying it. She's pontificating on everything from rape kits, which was what she was about to get into. The question was the amount of money that came from state funds and county funds. And if she doesn't know the answer to that question, the answer is I don't know. The question isn't let me talk. The answer isn't let me talk about rape kits. So I'll get back to the line of question. I'm going to give you latitude here, Madam DA, but same way in a courtroom, there are guardrails as to what we need to stay in and within. Indeed, Governor, and this is not a courtroom.
Power to make evidentiary rulings, and you don't have the power.
I have plenary power, Governor, to conduct the meeting.
No, sir,
Absolutely.
You do not have plenary power. I know you think you do, and that you're above the law, but you are not. If you want to cite her for contempt,
Governor.
she is entitled to a jury trial, and I can examine you on your actions, and I can examine you on your motives, then I will be glad to take that. As Clint Eastwood would say, make my day.
Well, we know the motives. He's on the ballot.
Governor, this is
This is a witch hunt.
this is a
It's
hearing
always been a witch
of the
hunt.
Senate Special Committee on
You're
Investigations.
not worried about those that you convicted illegally and locked up. Why is it that you run ads?
We're going to go on to our next question. How are the funds, you say that we give you the money, and I know that's a loose
Get one
term,
DA for every-
and
That's- if
that
you
flows
want to know-
into the Fulton County coffers, so to speak, and when you remit payment, you do that through the Fulton County accounting system. Is that correct?
Your question was compound. I didn't understand
Sure.
that.
I'll try to break that down. When checks are written as a result of a check request made by your office, those checks are paid by Fulton County. Is that correct?
I don't know how every check is written and if that's going to be 100% accurate. So I'm going to refrain from asking that question. What I can tell you is that, and probably happens in every other circuit, the district attorney has control over their budget and they don't have to go to the county. But I understood I was a woman DA coming into the office. I also understood that I was African American. And so therefore there would always be a target on my back. And so I did two things financially. One is I've never, so people can stop requesting, had a credit card associated with that office. Never. So I've never had a credit card, will never have a credit card. The other thing I did is that there is a CFO of Fulton County, a white female, her name is Sharon Whitmore. I believe you've heard from her. And so I made it so that the procedures of my office, although I did not have to do it, that it has to go through her for clearance. That way nobody would say the district attorney stole any money.
Okay, that gets to the core of my question. So when you're paying vendors, when you're paying contractors, that's going through, I think you said her name was Miss Whitmore, and she did testify before the committee. What I'm getting to, and I'm trying to figure out, is whether when the state funds come in, the federal funds come in, the county funds come in, are those paid for out of separate accounts, or those funds kind of commingled into a general budget, if you will, and that gets allocated?
I really couldn't answer the question. There's many different pots of money from the county. The state directly pays those state employees. Then they get another check from the county, the ones that don't make enough from the state. I really can't fully answer your question of all the ways. I have a team that I call my deputy. I have a deputy of operations and a team that does that kind of stuff. But There's some money from the county, there's some money from the state. The grant money I know goes through the state. The truth is, I don't have any grants. Fulton County has grants, but those grants do benefit my office. My Saki unit is renowned. I'm ending the year with a 100% conviction rate on Special Victims Division. Saki is a sexual assault kit initiative. Georgia, like many states, failed victims, mainly victims of color. And so rape kits for years, going back to the 80s, were not tested. So we have a grant with the federal government that, and I'm talking about thousands of rape kits, where they go and they test those rape kits. What we have found is if they would have done those jobs and believed those victims, that many of those rape kits go back to serial rapists. They also go back to people that have committed other crimes. I have excellent attorneys that are in that unit, some that I pay out of the grant, some that I add with my general fund. And as I said, not just my Saki unit, but my crimes against children unit, my Saki unit, my sexual assault unit, my human trafficking unit. We're ending the year with 100%.
So just yes or no on these, we can move quickly on to the next topic. You said you do not have a county credit card or a DA credit card.
Absolutely not. So y'all can say I stole some money.
Is there any sort of DA checking account that's separate that you use to pay your vendors or anything like that, or is it all go through the county?
I really can't answer that, and so I'm not going to speculate.
Okay. You mentioned forfeiture funds before. Do you have a ballpark of how much you've received? I think you said it was a small number of state forfeiture funds.
No, I said federal.
Okay.
I don't think there's much in the federal forfeiture account.
Do you receive state forfeiture funds?
I do.
Approximately how much a year is that in an average year?
I don't know the number to that. I can tell you I have sitting in abeyance. I just did a huge forfeiture, but it's not money we can touch yet, and it's a couple $1 million.
Okay. What's your understanding of the allowed uses of state forfeiture funds?
Oh, if I don't know the use of a forfeiture money, I talk to lawyers in the office. I'll go to PAC. I don't touch forfeiture money unless I get some approval.
Do you know of any delineation between the allotment, the allowance of uses between state forfeiture funds
Yeah, there's
and
definitely
federal?
rules around. There's definitely rules.
I was asking about the difference between federal and state, if there's any rules there.
There are rules to both, and I don't know I can't tell you the rules for each. Anytime we were going to make an expenditure, we would look at it, I'm sure.
Do you know if those funds are commingled at all within your system?
I don't know it, but I would believe not.
Okay. Who is it? You mentioned that you've got people. Who is it that oversees the use of forfeiture funds in the office?
It's going to be the county that stuff is going to go back to the county.
Okay. And do you know whether or not any forfeiture funds were used to pay Mr. Wade?
I'm not aware of that. We would have submitted the invoices to the county. The county would have used one of those mini line items. They would have paid them.
Can you think of a reason why forfeiture funds would be used to pay Mr. Wade?
I guess he's.
Don't ask. She just told you that she doesn't know. So
Yeah, you were asking me to speculate.
You do not know whether Mr. Wade was paid with state forfeiture funds or not?
You're asking me to speculate.
No, I'm asking if you know whether or not state forfeiture, any forfeiture funds were used.
I'm unaware of that.
Okay.
I'm unaware if the answer is yes. I'm unaware if the answer is no. What I'm aware of is the process was turn in a bill and they would do it. You and Jim Jordan working together?
I've never talked to Mr. Jordan. Just
I don't know
want to
about
point
that. Anybody who doesn't report people that get raped in college, I'm going to have to disagree
just
with you
want to
there,
point this
Governor.
out here. This is, do you recognize the bottom form here? Fulton County Court Payment Voucher?
I don't.
Is this you've never seen any document in this format before?
Never.
Okay. Well, this shows a number of things here. It shows what fund it was paid from here, which is 440, which is your the forfeiture fund account. You can see at the top the unit name, confiscated funds for this invoice, and then here you can see that this was a payment made, and I apologize, you can't see my mouse. On the left side there, right in the middle, you can see that this was a payment made to the law office of Nathan Wade. In reviewing for your testimony today, we just did review the bills and look through different sources of funds that were used to pay Mr. Wade. I know your testimony is you were not aware that forfeiture funds were used. We saw Mr. Wade was paid from forfeiture funds and from the county general fund, which is Fund 100. And that's why I was getting to the uses of forfeiture funds to pay independent contractors. Do you have any knowledge of any restrictions that may be around the concept of using forfeiture funds to pay independent contractors?
I do not. It was my understanding that Mr. Wade was paid out of my professional services budget.
Okay. What's the accounting process? That's kind of what I was getting to earlier, of kind of, if it was your understanding he was paid out of the professional services budget, that would intimate that there's some sort of accounting procedure within either your office or the county office where there are separate fund allocations. And I asked you if your funds were commingled and everything was paid out of the same, or if there were dedicated accounts. So you were, A, unaware that Mr. Wade was paid out of the forfeiture funds. You believe he was paid out of the professional services funds. What would be the process, as you understand, in your office to determine what fund a invoice is paid from?
You're in the weeds, and I don't know the answer.
Okay. We've already talked about the selection of the special SADAs, special assistant district attorneys. I may use those interchangeably. The process of interviewing Governor Barnes, among some other folks, ultimately settling on Mr. Wade.
Well, I don't want you to act like he was,
Well, after just talking to 2 or 3 people, I think, to be fair, I don't think
he's
I'm not saying it's the bottom of the...
He's a lawyer, been practicing law 25 years.
Sure. What was the reason that you chose to use, and I think if you could just unpack this for us a little bit more, that you chose to use a special assistant DA at the rate of $250 an hour versus using the attorneys that were already in your office, or hiring additional attorneys at a rate that you referenced earlier is between, I think you said, between $85,000 and $200,000 a year?
Because we were drowning, and each of so most of the lawyers I had in the office wouldn't be qualified to do that work, most of them. I had some that were qualified to do that work, but each of them had a major project. Let me use those 2 cases that mattered most to me, Kennedy Maxey and Sequoia Turner. I was determined we were going to win those cases. So on day 1, those cases got handed to Miss Dacia Young. In addition to handing her that, because nobody has one job, I handed her the Special Victims Division, at which time had like 8 units. So she's doing both these 2 big cases, and she's over the entire Special Victims Division. Same thing with Mr. Carlson, very qualified lawyer, but I handed him 6 units, and I also told him, you gonna get rid of these 250 or so murders that we have. We're gonna do a project, we're gonna set it up, we're gonna go one by one. So every lawyer I had with that level of experience had a huge project. I assigned a lawyer to deal with the 18,000 backlog. I don't wanna be sitting here in, it took us, I think, 3 years to get through those, as well as keep up with the 46,000 cases that end up coming in my first term. So everyone had some. So it became obvious to me that I needed a lawyer that could manage this team while I did the rest of the work of the people.
And there was nobody else, either internal or that you could have hired at a lower rate that you just described?
A lower rate than $250? It's an insult to take $250 for a lawyer that's been practicing law that long.
I thought you told me earlier that your range of people that work for you are between $85,000, not dollars an hour, but $85,000 a year and $200,000.
Yeah, but an $85,000 is like one domestic violence grant. I usually only hire someone with 3 years of experience. I make an exception with that because that's, an offensive salary. Although I can tell you, I think the state is paying lawyers $64,000. I mean, it's ridiculous. I know a little girl just graduated Georgetown Law, and she's making $280,000, $300,000 a year. We do not take public service seriously, and we need to, because my lawyers do greater work than most of these lawyers in this civil firm.
And let me point out one thing. You're using gross amounts. That doesn't include
Benefits.
The perks, the health insurance, and all that stuff, which Wade did not have.
Sure. So describe for me the experience level of your top paid, or somebody that would fall within the category of the top paid assistant district attorney that works for you at the $200,000 a year, and to Governor Barnes's point, plus benefits. Let's just say that's $250, and if I take that divided by 2,000 hours, that's about $125 an hour.
I don't understand the question.
My question is, what is the experience level of the assistant district attorneys?
Are you trying to intimate that you're going to tell me who to hire and how to do my job?
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, the wonderful people that you have hired, they're the top of your pay scale at $200,000 a year. What is their experience level? Because I'll let you answer that, and I'll ask my next question.
20 years practicing or
Okay.
more.
And it's your testimony that somebody with 20 years practicing or more would not be able to manage the election interference case?
You are really not listening. I said that I had people at that pay rate, and each of them was assigned a major task within my office. And no, I did not have anyone that was not assigned with a major task that I trusted to manage this case. And so I made a decision. The people of Fulton County elected me to make that decision, and I did.
Is there a reason why you decided to go the special assistant district attorney route via independent contractor as opposed to a new full-time hire?
I think it's asked and answered, sir.
Okay.
Because it was cheap. You don't have to pay the perks.
Governor, I'm happy for you to provide counsel to your client, but in terms of testimony, that's what the district attorney is here for today.
So I'd like to talk about what this committee did the last time we were here, and for the press, I will have 50 copies of this so each person can get a copy. You all, the last time y'all had a committee meeting, you all purported this lie that I had the honor of meeting Vice President Kamala Harris.
The question's about block
No, I'm
billing,
going to
Madam
answer
DA.
this question right now. And when you stated that, you stated that it was me and it was Mayor Dickens. And then you put this exhibit up for the entire world to see. How disingenuous, how lacking of integrity for Ms. Merchant as an attorney to put it up, and for Counsel, who I noticed is cowardly not here, to have it here. This clearly says, I'm at a Black History Month project. Almost every important Black elected official across the country was invited to it. I'm on the lawn with a cocktail, and yet y'all tell the world I was sitting down with the vice president having a meeting. It was a damn lie. And this is the evidence of it. And y'all had the audacity to put it up on a screen as if you were showing something other than the DA was having a cocktail on the lawn. I have never even had the honor of meeting Vice President Kamala Harris. Never.
How would you define block billing?
Like somebody who didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
When I refer you to the screen, these are...
I don't review those documents, so you're asking me to look at documents that I haven't for the first time. What I can tell you is that I
I'll give
only
you time to
allowed
review the
Mr. Wade to
documents.
bill 160 hours a week, and then Mr. Wade would be the first one in the office making sure that my staff arrived. He corrected their behavior. They thought that 8:30 meant 8:30. He taught them that 8:30 means 7:45. He got there before them. He left after him. He taught them how to do this case, and he was a leader to that team and a public servant. And for that, him like me has been threatened thousands of times. You want something to investigate as a legislature? Investigate how many times they've called me the N-word. Why don't you investigate that? Why don't you investigate them writing on my house? Why don't you investigate the fact that my house has been swatted? If you want something to do with your time that makes sense, and you can use all this in your campaign ad, you attacked Fani Willis. What have you done, sir? Nothing.
So I'm going to refer you to the screen. I know you said you don't approve.
I don't look at this.
review
I've never
these
seen it,
bills.
so I can't talk to you about documents I don't approve and don't review. Can't
Well,
talk to you about it.
Who does approve the documents in your office when invoices come in?
I thought we'd been through this.
I don't believe you said who reviews the invoices and approves the invoices in your
First
office.
of all, I have no firsthand knowledge of it.
You have no
You
firsthand
want me to
knowledge of...
testify about something I don't have any firsthand knowledge of?
I'm asking-
Are you asking me to speculate? Because I've clearly told you I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it, and I'm not going to speculate.
The question is, when an invoice comes into your office from a special assistant district attorney, what is the review process for that invoice before it's paid?
And she's answered this. She said she has a deputy of operations, and he reviews, or she reviews, and then it goes through the county. So it's a repetitive question.
What's the name of the deputy of operations?
The question has been asked and answered, and I believe it goes straight to the county, so I'm not sure. Dexter Bond.
Okay. Do you know who ATG may be, initials within your office?
I don't.
I would assume it's accurate to say it's probably not Dexter Bond.
I don't. It may be somebody at the county.
What we're looking at here are two bills that were paid by and approved by your department. The one on the left is from the Cross firm, which refers to Anna Cross that we referenced earlier. The one on the right is invoice number 11 from Nathan Wade. And the first thing that...
Let me tell you why this is such a damn
The
joke.
first thing that jumps out to me as a non-lawyer, but as someone who has paid lawyer bills before, and I believe this gets to the question, the question which was around block billing. And here's my question for you, Madam DA. Are there rules in your contracts or otherwise when you hire independent contractors that gets to the billing methodology for your attorneys? In other words, are they allowed to always bill to the even hour, or is there a professional expectation that they would bill to the 10th or
Let me tell you something. I had 3 attorneys working with me that had integrity. For you to insinuate that a judge that sat for 10 years and was the head of the magistrate court judges, that they did something illegal. They were underpaid. I have here documents where in one annual year, because I want you to remember his bills were over the course of 3 years, in one annual year made $8 million, made $5 million. And I'm going to make sure that the press has that so that when you're asking me about this great service to the state of Georgia, that it is understood that these are more than reasonable, actually bargain basement amounts. Ms. Cross would insist that I wrote government rate in her contract because she didn't want anyone to get confused that she would actually work for this rate, but for the fact that it was service to her community. So I don't know what we're talking about here, but to insinuate these 3 lawyers that have great integrity, have served this community well, did something unethical, I don't know why we're having this conversation.
I'm trying to...
I don't know anything about whatever you're talking about.
The state of Georgia allocates funding to your office.
They hire those 25 lawyers, yes.
And we are trying to, the questioning here is relative to the approval process of invoices that are paid by your office. You have testified that that is done by Dexter Bond, that you're unaware of who this ATG is that signed off on this. So we'll move on to this further line of questioning here.
You know, old men have to go to the bathroom about every hour.
Governor, would you like a 5-minute recess?
I believe it would.
We'll take a 5-minute recess. Just 1 second. If you don't, are you on 2 there?
I testified that I had capped Mr. Wade, or Attorney Wade, or Judge Wade, at 160 a week. What I meant to speak is 160 a month. Also, I have referred several times to the rates of the AG. I would like you to know that in 2020, the Attorney General of this state paid $52,000 in attorney's fees. I've done $52 million in attorney's fees with the top recipient in that year, initials AF. I've taken off their name at $3,593,000. That was for 2020. In 2021, again, in excess of $52 million, with the top one in that year being AD as the initials, $2,673,000. I should note the great Josh Belafonte was one of the recipients that year, and he made $1.3 million in 2021. In 2022, the AG's office spent on special prosecutors $55 million. DS being the top recipient for that year,
I think we're outside the,
$2 million,
correct,
$200,000. Josh Belafonte made $911,000. In 2023, the AG's office spent $65 million with the top recipient making $5 million, initials MR, and I'm going to finish. And 2024, the top recipient was MR, and they made $4.6 million. And then let's not leave off 2020.
All right, we're going to move on to the next question here.
Dollars by the AG on special.
Madam DA, have you seen this letter before?
It's got my signature on it.
Do you have seen this letter before?
Yes, that's how it got signed.
You sent this letter on December 17th, 2021, requesting access to documents to from the January 6th committee, Chairman Mr. Representative Thompson. Is that correct?
I did.
Okay. Did you or anyone in your office receive help in your investigation from the January 6th commission?
Do you want me?
What do you mean by help?
Did they send you documents?
Well, they're public documents now.
Did they send you any documents that were not public? That were not public at the time?
None that I can recall. None that I can recall.
In the letter, you offer to meet them in person. Did they take you up on the offer to meet in person?
I've never met Thompson.
Have you ever met anyone that was doing work with the January 6th Commission?
Not to my knowledge. I may have met them and not known they were doing that work.
Mr. Wade traveled to D.C. with members of your staff, is that correct?
That is correct.
And Mr. Wade billed for conference calls with the January 6th Committee, is that correct?
I haven't looked at the bills.
What difference does that make?
On the left side of the screen here, and I apologize, the camera's in your way, there's a screen over here.
You'll have to remember the criminals that I
Easier to see.
indicted, they had committed crimes all over the country. And so as a result, as a prosecutor, if you know that a criminal has done crimes in this state and other states, it would almost not be due diligence to try to get information from them. Here goes some more legislation you can take up. There is a process called TUI with the federal government where state prosecutors try to get information from federal prosecutors. They are not very helpful.
On this bill, on the left-hand side, the first red
I haven't
highlight.
seen the bill, sir, you remember?
That's why I'm showing it to you, Madam DA. It says team meeting, conference with January 6th, research legal issues to prep, and then it ends with V. He testified, and the testimony is on the right side of the screen that meant interview. And then the second one is travel out of state, interview and research, which was from April 27th until April 29th. Are you aware of a trip that Mr. Wade took out of state that your office paid for in April of 2022?
Yes.
What was the purpose of the trip?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I'm sure to get information on some of the criminals I ended up indicting.
This slide here shows essentially a reimbursement request on the right-hand side for Mr. Wade at the Hyatt Place Hotel. And on the left-hand side, this is an invoice for the Hyatt Place Hotel during the time period I referenced earlier for Mr. Michael Hill. Do you know who Michael Hill is?
He was an assistant chief when he left my office. He's an investigator, though, a sworn law enforcement officer.
And he was on your staff during April of 2022? You said when he left your office. When did he leave the office?
I don't remember. But yes. Yes to the first question. He was on my staff at that time. I don't remember to the second question of when did he leave. Not long ago, he got a higher title at another office.
Do you know who else from your office attended this trip?
I can't recall. You can refresh my recollection if you like.
This is an invoice for the same hotel on the same dates from Mr. Francis. I assume it's Mr. Wakeford. Is that someone that worked in your staff?
An amazing attorney.
What was his role?
He's an attorney.
What did he do what work did he do within your department, your team?
He does all types of work, but he is what I would consider to be an appellate lawyer.
Did he do work on the elections interference case?
Absolutely.
What work did he do on the election interference case?
He did a lot of excellent writing.
This slide here is for Mr. John Wooten, same hotel, same dates, same trip to D.C. Do you know John Wooten
He works for me.
currently?
Yes.
What was his role in April of 2022?
A lawyer, works for my office, does a lot of white-collar crime for me.
Did work on the election interference case?
Yep.
Okay. So is it safe to assume from both the testimony I had on the screen, your letter, and Mr. Wade's invoices that reference January 6th, is it safe to assume that Mr. Wade and other members of your staff went to D.C. in furtherance of your investigation of the 2022 election, or sorry, 2020 election?
I'm not going to make assumptions under oath.
You are unaware of whether or not members of your staff, 4 of them that we have here so far, or 3 and 1 independent contractor, you're unaware as to whether or not the purpose of their D.C. trip was to meet with the January 6th committee or members of the January 6th committee or lawyers working for the J6 committee?
I know that they went to D.C., and I know it was in reference to this investigation. I do not recall who they spoke with, but you all have tried to make this some nefarious thing that lawyers would try to investigate and find out information about people who came to Georgia and committed crimes. And instead of being honorable and trying to defend those people that you take an oath to serve, we're here with this foolishness.
Do you know how many trips Mr. Wade took to D.C.?
In his life?
As it relates to the J6 committee or the 2020 elections interference case?
I believe one, but I don't know. It's speculation.
Well, it wouldn't be speculation if he had told you about it. Did he tell you about any other trips that he took?
But what you have to remember is it is whatever day it is in December of 2025, and I'm an office that prosecutes 64,000 people, and I know you are somewhat offended that I had the audacity to prosecute, these folks that came into my county and committed crimes. But this wasn't special to me. This was another day of business.
On the screen is another invoice from Mr. Wade. The highlighted section, I'll just read it out loud, says January 6th meeting and ATTY Conf. That's from November 16th of 2022. And then there's a second entry immediately below that, interview with DC/White House, November 18, 2022. Have you seen this bill?
No.
Are you aware of phone calls or conferences that Mr. Wade either attended or was a part in that relates to the J6 committee or the election interference case, working with the J6 committee that is separate from the April trip that we just discussed?
We didn't do much work with a J6 committee, so I've never seen this bill before. And I believe the only thing that we called the White House about was, did we have to go through the TUI process with that White House like we have to do with the Department of Justice? That's my recollection. That could be right or wrong, but we were trying to speak to people in the Trump administration, the first one. So I don't believe we had a lot of contact with the White House, so I'm not aware.
You said you were trying to speak with people that were part of the first Trump administration in these travels to D.C., or are you just saying that more generally?
More generally.
Okay. And just to clarify, I want to make sure that I have the record correct here. You're unaware of who Mr. Wade
I can't
and the
recall
others
those
met
levels of
with?
details. I know you want to take me back to 1948, where an African-American prosecutor can only prosecute certain types of people, but I prosecute and stand up for all victims that come into my circuit.
When was the special purpose grand jury impaneled?
I don't remember the date, but that's an interesting point. 2 grand juries said these people did these crimes.
The date that I have
And the
is
grand jury was made up of independents, Democrats, Republicans. 2.
the date that I have is January 24th of 2022. Does that seem like it's within the range of being the correct date?
So I already stated I don't trust you. I understand you're trying to run for lieutenant governor right now. Anything you want me to testify to, I'm going to need to see.
Okay. Were you aware that in between the time of the special grand jury being sworn in and receiving evidence, Mr. Wade traveled to Athens, Georgia to meet with officials from the White House counsel's office?
I don't recall.
On the right-hand side here is the meeting that I reference. The highlighted section reads, travel to Athens, conf with White House
How does this
counsel.
assist you in developing laws for Georgia? Because I believe the purpose that I'm here for is because you all need assistance in doing your job, and you want assistance with rules and regulations around how people should be a prosecutor. And it made sense to me that you'd come to the best prosecutor in the state to ask for some advice. But I'm confused as to how this assists you and what the purpose of me being here is.
The committee has a broad purpose. I'd be happy to refer to counsel as to the overall purpose of the committee. But my question for you is, as it relates
I
to
don't
this
think it's
travel-
relevant, so I'm objecting on relevance.
She's asked and answered that. She's told you that the TUI process goes through the White House counsel's office. She's asked, it's been asked and answered.
And it's your testimony today that the travel to Athens, conference with the White House counsel, as far as you were aware, was due to a part of this TUI process that the governor's referencing.
I've testified, I don't recall anything about this,
Okay.
and I don't see how it's relevant to what your alleged purpose is. Now, your real purpose is to try to get elected, which I would say, Georgia, please, let's elect any lieutenant governor but this one.
We'll get to your work trying to elect lieutenant governors in a second, Madam DA, but for now we're talking about the
I've done no
travel
work with
to
an
DC.
elected governor, but if I will do some work with this, I see that Counselor left you
contract.
alone today.
I'm not
And
going-
he is running to be Attorney General of this state.
Madam DA,
And
we're
he
gonna
is
answer
not
the question.
qualified to be such. By record, by this document where he put up a false document trying to prove that I met with the Vice President, that shows you he does not have ethics. But there is
Madam-
somebody running for Attorney General that has been a state prosecutor, a federal prosecutor, a civil rights attorney, and a state's legislature. So if people want to vote for people that are ethical and actually have the experience to do the job, I'd say go donate now to Tanya Miller.
A couple of days after this, President Trump did indeed announce that he was running for president. As you can see on the date there, November 15th, 2022. And then the very next day, and we've referenced this a second ago, but we're going to go back to it.
This helps you
The very-
develop
the very next
legislation.
day-
How?
The very next day, there was a conversation between Mr. Wade. I'm sorry, there was an 8-hour, was described here as an interview with DC and the White House.
Interview with who?
It reads interview DC/White House. It's
Okay. And this
it's on the
has been
screen.
asked and answered. They said that they had.
No, I'm laying a foundation here, Governor.
Don't answer yet. Let me listen to the question.
On November 18th, the very same day as this 8-hour phone call with the White House, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed Special Counsel Jack Smith. And around that same period of time, some news reports say the same day, but we know within 2 weeks of that time, Matthew Colangelo, who is the former third highest ranking official at DOJ, tendered his resignation to take a position in the Manhattan prosecutor's office, which would go on to also indict President Trump.
He committed crimes a lot of places.
And convicted by the jury dispute.
And you
So-
know, you
so
all
on
want
November-
to, no,
on
this is
November-
very
on
important.
November
You all want to intimidate people from doing the right thing,
On-
and you think that you're going to intimidate me. You all have been trying to intimidate me for 5 years, which is why I have not been able to live in my house for 5 years, because the N-word has been written on my house. Thousands of threats have come to my office, and instead of doing some legislation,
Madam
when
Chair,
someone,
just-
no,
just
no,
trying to
no,
get
when
you here
someone
to
says
testify
something
before the committee.
inflammatory that you know is going to cause them to be the victims of crime, you ought to do something about it. But you see, I'm not Marjorie Taylor Greene. I ain't gonna quit in a month because somebody threatens me. I took an oath to do the right thing. People came into my community and committed a crime, and I indicted them. And rest assured, if someone else comes in my community and commits a crime, I will indict them again.
The Special Purpose Grand Jury released its report just under a month after this time frame on December 15th of
And said
2022.
39 people should
Is
be
that-
indicted, but in my discretion and looking at the evidence that was the most damning, I chose to only present an indictment to the grand jury of 19. And who knew? The citizens of Fulton County, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, non-politicals, all said these 19 people deserve to be indicted, and they were.
The question was, the Special Purpose Grand Jury released its report just under a month after this phone call between Mr. Wade and the White House, just a month after, on the very same day, Jack Smith was appointed by Merrick Garland, and just a month after the third-ranking member of the Department of Justice left the Department of Justice to go work for Alvin Bragg, that date being December 15th, 2022. Is that the date that the Special Purpose Grand Jury released its report?
I don't recall.
Don't answer that. And let me tell you something.
You don't recall, does that,
She said she did not recall. And to try to, everybody's a crook in your mind. Jack Smith's a
Well, there
crook.
were some crooks.
Well, I know, but
They were on the indictment.
the Fulton County Ethics Code was amended in April of '24 to clarify that it includes elected officials. Is that your
Haven't-
understanding?
I have no idea what Fulton County did.
that wouldn't apply to her. She's
Yeah, I'm not a county elected official. I'm a
She's
state.
a state elected,
Right.
not a county.
Okay, so your position would be that the county ethics code, anti-nepotism code that they updated to include elected officials, when they expanded that scope, that would not include you. That would be your
There's
position.
county electeds and there's a state elected. I am a state elected.
Okay.
I represent the Atlanta Judicial Circuit.
Does PAC have any sort of model language around either internal ethics codes for your office to use or any sort of anti-nepotism
You have to ask Pat.
language? Are you aware of
I'm not.
anything that PAC has provided? Can you provide the committee with any sort of internal ethics guidelines that you have, as well as any sort of anti-nepotism policy that your office has in writing?
You know how to subpoena them, we'll consider and decide whether it's relevant to the inquiry, or whether it's privileged, or whether you've already received it.
Okay. Does an internal ethics policy exist in writing?
You know, you mentioned companies, and, you know, it's interesting because I also saw where you posted where it's always Fulton County. But the truth is, you have a company that you've listed on your disclosures for finances, and that company stole millions of dollars from Fulton. If you want to look at ethics, you might want to look at that.
Does your office have any
And
sort
the
of
company's name is
internal
Teletrax, in case
ethics?
anyone thinks I'm making this up. And people died because that company did not provide the services that they purported to provide.
Does your office have an internal ethics policy that's in writing?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.